Hello everyone and welcome to week 12, level 47 of the Loco4Pack challenge. We are at the final tour stage of our program. So now it's time to see what happened with old Charles here. Well, Charles isn't really Charles. You probably figured that part out by now. It turns out, I'll put a little headcanon alert thing on here. One of the things I really had a problem with in this particular playthrough was I couldn't justify the pods in the memory den. They didn't make sense. It's like, what are they doing there? What's the whole thing? So his story is basically headcanon for how those got there and what they're for. So in September of 2077, Nate got himself a call from the CO of the recruitment office, and they got him to go down to a business down by Scollay Square because the military was contracting with this company called VSS. And they were making simulations. VSS basically contracted with the government and with Vault-Tec to make pods, virtual immersion, virtual reality simulation pods. Now the military was using, of course, at Nellis Air Force Base for flight simulators, and Case over in DC was using it to make a Battle of Anchorage simulator. And then, of course, Stanislaw Braun in 112 had created the Tranquility Lane thing, but VSS was developing a different kind of pod. What they wanted to do, what they were working on, was a pod that, unlike Stanislaw Braun's complete memory wipe, and unlike the Battle of Anchorage and Nellis Air Force Base zero memory wipe, right? It was a binary thing. There was no middle point. They were trying to develop something that gave the subject, a more real simulation that was variable, right? It had adaptive AI that would key on their emotions and modify the scenario inside to tailor it to them, so we could get more honest and real reactions and against the things that caused them stress. So the first emotion they went after, of course, is the easiest one. They went after fear. So that's what they were developing in their building, the green one down there, when they were working with Case down in DC. But of course, Case went off the reservation and was doing all kinds of weird things with the sim, and they couldn't tell if it was software, if it was design, or if it was hardware. They couldn't figure out what the problem was. So they shipped the latest build up to Boston, and they found Nate, who had been at the Battle of Anchorage, and they said, hey, this guy's got actual experience. He can go in there and take notes for us and tell us what's right and wrong and whatever. So he goes down there and they introduce themselves, and he signs a liability waiver and whatever. And they tell him, okay, well, we're gonna have you test one of our software builds, but we need to have you calibrate our hardware first. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put you in the pod and we're gonna run our latest simulation, okay? He said, the time's gonna be a little bit dilated. We need you to go in there and give us your honest reaction to what's happening inside there. And you should be under for maybe 2-3 hours. That's how long it usually runs. Okay, he's like, okay, that sounds fair enough. They're all, we can always pull you out if things get weird, no big deal, don't worry about it, it's not a problem. So he goes into the sim. Now, Nate's biggest fears, of course, losing his wife, losing his child, and of course nuclear war, because I mean, come on, it's the Commonwealth. And so, of course, the sim hit him with all three, bang, 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 right at the start. So he gets out and whatever, and what they were developing this for, okay, was they were working in conjunction with Vault-Tec to test what a Commonwealth citizen how they would react to being dumped into a post-apocalyptic wasteland because of the cryopods, right? They wanted to check and screen their subjects, right? Put them through this thing, modify the thing to see what those people would want, what they would need, whatever. Because the cryo thing was only half the experiment. The other half was, can we have people survive long-term post-war? Because nobody knew how long the wasteland was gonna last. So that was part of the process. That's why Vault 111 was so detailed and so complete. So he goes in, does the thing and whatever, and he's okay. But their secondary goal was to see how a Commonwealth citizen, or how citizens in general, would rebuild civilization. And that's where the evolution of settlement thing came from. That's why they named him Charles, and that's why he kind of looks like Charles Darwin. So he goes through the whole thing, and they're going, okay, their monitors read out, everything's fine, looks good. It's a beta, so there's obviously some bugs in it and stuff. But then he goes to the Institute and sees, well, first he saw the pods. And it turns out that VSS had failed to adequately eliminate short-term memory from their subjects when they went into the pod. So he still remembered seeing those pods. He didn't know why, but okay. But the problem with that is it was weird. It was something that he didn't expect. So he started to get a little twitchy. And then he went to see Sean his fear was resolved. Okay, good. He was angry, of course, yes. But then he felt nothing because VSS, of course, had failed to code for any other emotion but fear. So once the fear was gone, Nate's like, why don't I care? This doesn't make any sense to me. Why do I care more about building a settlement than I do my son? And he remembered the pods, and he goes back and he thinks he's losing his mind. And that scares him, which puts him into a feedback loop because the AI takes that fear and amplifies it to give him more of a simulation. So the wheels and the bus go round and round, and he's completely locked up, and his vitals are starting to spike in the real world. They can't figure out what the hell is going on. So they have an emergency meeting, and they code a little nugget of simulation that some other guys have been working on. They used it like a chat room. Everybody had their own little rooms. So they basically took this room, modified it to have an alarm on it, plugged it into what they thought he would recognize as the building, since clearly he knows short-term memory, and they put all the instructions on the tape. And they said, okay, here, this is what you need to do to get out, because somehow the extraction protocol broke. We can't get you out, okay? So either A, you fulfill the requirements of the simulation, which is this and this and this and this. They give him a laundry list of all the things the code looked for. He's or B, you could wait it out. Now, you've been in there for like 6 months now, and the running time is another 1.5 years, so you'll be in there probably until Saturday. So you can choose either one. You can wait around if you want to. If you like hanging out there, that's fine. You'll come out eventually. Though we don't recommend that because we don't know what else the code's going to mutate, because things are getting weird in there. And we're starting to be concerned. But yeah, you do what you like. So, of course, he goes back to the settlement and writes a laundry list of all the crap that he has off the holotape and says, get this done. But that's why the settlers don't have names. That's why he doesn't have to go to the bathroom. That's why he doesn't have to eat or sleep, you know, because it's a beta. They forgot to code that stuff in there. So that's why Charles is who he is, and that's why Nate was freaking out. And the last thing on the tape they said is, once you've fulfilled the requirements, look for an exit. Because, of course, the standard exit in all the VSS sims is a television. The one in Kellogg's Memories was a television. The one in Tranquility Lane was a television. They're all, look for a television, right? Get rid of every other television in there that you can, because what's going to happen is when you fulfill the requirements, it's going to put an exit on there. There'll be an exit sign. We don't know what it looks like. It's going to put a TV in there somewhere. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know where it's going to be, but that's when you'll know that it's time to go home. So that's what Randall's been doing. And that's, not Randall, Jesus. That's what Nate's been doing. That's why he's Charles. And that's why he thought he was losing his mind. So there's my headcanon on what happened. I'm wondering, how close did you guess? Did anybody guess this? How close did you get? Anyway, so I'm going to cut this narration off because I'm actually not doing anything but talking about this because I had a bunch of notes and stuff. I wanted to make sure I covered all the high points. And I'm going to go back and I'll start talking about the tour that you're probably seeing at this point. So far we've seen the farmer's house, we've seen the workshop, we've seen the player house, and now we're going to the doctor's house. I want to apologize for the chugginess of this thing. I didn't notice until I watched the pre-render, the first render, that there are some spots in here where it gets really choppy, and I could not figure out how to get rid of them. Probably because this thing is very large, and you know what? It's not that large. It's very dense. That's one thing I discovered about my building style, especially right here, and in the next build you're going to see, which is, that's why my settlements are so small. That's why my buildings are so small, because I build densely. I build a lot of stuff in there. I make all these little set pieces in every place, and that adds tons of triangles, and that makes my frame rate go right in the toilet. So at least now I know why my performance suffers so badly when I start building large, because I build large with the same level of complexity and detail as I do when I build small, which is what I mostly build. So lesson learned, no more big builds, or if you do a lot of small things spread way the hell out with lots of fences, so at least the frame rate won't go in the toilet when you try and do the tour. So here's the doctor. She's got her kitchen. She's got some storage here, some more, extra just random storage containers here. We got the guard up here. So for the end of this thing here, yeah, I hope y'all liked the story. I hope it wasn't too Matlocky, where it was too Deus Ex Machina, where I just basically explained everything, but I couldn't figure out how to reverse engineer the story to where it made sense, where there were enough clues without giving the whole thing away. I mean, hopefully it was decent. I mean, I'm not really a creative writer, so that's about as good as I can do. I do much better when I'm putting up buildings, because the buildings will tell their own stories on their own. But that's why the doctor has such a crappy little house, because he's like, look, I just need a house for her, man. I don't care. Whatever. So we're going to go through this thing here, and we're going to go through the whole tour of it in the daytime. Then we're going to switch over to nighttime, and then we'll see what happens. But here's this house. It really got built up and, of course, detailed and completed there. Here's the side of the back of it where the weapon vendor and the armor vendor, and I can just call them that and not feel guilty about it because they don't have names, because of course they don't, because hooray VSS, maybe next time you'll code some names for them, dude. But this is, you've seen all this before. Nothing much really changed from last week structurally. It's mostly decoration and fittings and, stuff. It's not buildings. Thank goodness, because man, this got chugging up. But this guy here, when I started decorating his house here, he got really weird because he's got recorders and cameras, tons of toys, a bunch of liquor and drugs, handcuffs. Dude, what the hell are you even doing up here? He's looking at that recorder going, I don't think I want to look at what's on there, man. So my his initial radar on this guy's relative creepiness was definitely justified, because it's like, dude, what are you even doing up here? This is So yeah, anyway, but he's a good armor vendor. He makes lots of money, so I really can't complain about that, right? As long as I don't think too much about his extracurricular activities, we'll be fine. And then, of course, and then we're back to the weapon shop, where her inventory is neatly stacked, and the workbench has got lots of nice supplies ready for use, and some extra boxes, and it's decoration. That's what a weapon shop looks like, I guess. And she makes lots of money, man. She gets lots of foot traffic in this place, so she does really, really good. And of course, I'll run into I got to run into something in every video, right? That's sort of my trademark now. I should trademark that. Runs into random objects. Here's her office and working area and, living room, I guess. And her bedroom. Now, here's something I haven't seen yet, but I've been doing a lot. Whenever I put a cigar box down with a cigar, I'll put a pair of scissors down there. Because, you need one for a clipper for cigars, right? And here she is trying to figure out how a gamma gun works. She can't quite figure it out, but she's taking it apart and looking at it going, yeah, I got to be able to figure out how to make these things, man. This can't be that hard. It's just, all the electronics are exposed, so it's a pretty straightforward device. So she's going to try and make her own modifications on a gamma gun. And now we're going to go back out here. But again, like I said, it's mostly decoration and, filling it in. Yeah, look how chuggy that is, man. Damn. And this is only, I think, 2 3/4, almost 3 size bars. Not quite 3 size bars. Because at the end I had to cut a bunch of the lights because the lights were really, really dragging it down. I was using those yellow industrial lights. Pro tip, don't use a lot of those. They are apparently very, very high in triangles, because if you put like 5 of them in there, man, you will notice the frame rate hit almost immediately. I don't know why. Which sucks, because they're the only ones that have a decent low level diffusion, and it's colored, it's yellow, so that's kind of nice. Maybe I'll start using more of those colored lights that you got to directly wire. Here's the workshop. I love this workshop. I really like how this particular one came out, because it's airy, and he likes to walk on the roof, keep an eye on stuff below, I guess. I don't know. Or maybe it's just, they float around. But they got a lot of stuff in progress, a lot of materials here, a lot of supplies. They spend a lot of time going back and forth between here and the shop. But they've got plenty of stuff to work on here, and of course, since they are a high volume settlement, they have a lot of quality material. So they're not going to run out anytime soon. But yeah, the frame rate's really starting to get bad. Thankfully, it does not crash, so that was kind of good. So yeah, spoiler, it doesn't crash. And then the combination house for the scaver and the scavenger guy and the scavenger ghoul and the shop owners. This is the scavenger side. He likes to live rough. He doesn't really need a lot of stuff. But she wanted something a little bit more detailed, something a little bit nicer. But he's got his, basic supplies. Give him a little personality. Man, that frame rate is just, ugh. So yeah, no more big builds, guys. I'm not going to be building big anymore, not like this. I have learned my lesson at Starlight. And she's got a cozy little place to go where, she's really good friends with the clothes vendor. So they hang out a lot. And yeah. Now we're going to go over to the trade caravan post area, where we have a much nicer, more complete gathering area. They've got seats, they've got a table, they've got a guy jumping up, springing up from the bench when he sees me. And the dogs are friendly. They just kind of hang out and do their thing. Jam the lamp to the table to give it some light. It looks kind of funky, but it looks kind of cool. In hindsight, I probably should have sunk it more. And, you know, some stuff warming up around the fire and some utensils they can do to season the meat, or I don't know, whatever they're doing their stuff. The typical bar with stuff that hasn't been picked up and stuff sitting out on tables. Doing its thing. I used a lot of the workshop decorations pack in this one because I was noticing that the more I used OCD, the chuggier I was getting. So I figured I could cut some corners and, you know, put a couple of those things in there here and there just to give me that lived-in cluttered look without having, you know, 600,000 polish from a bunch of bottles and plates and stuff. But even then, this is still really, really not smooth. And we rearranged the clothing place a little bit so it would look a little more upscale, as upscale as you can get in the Commonwealth. She's got a good inventory. Got the nice expensive stuff there on the side shelf, and she's got her kitchen going here. But yeah, I mean, it's weird narrating this because you've seen all this already pretty much, just not the decorations. And the decorations, well, they tell their own story. That's what they're for. So, yeah, though this was a fun challenge, though. I will say, Loco, this was really good. It was easier and more difficult at the same time because, you know, as you guys have seen from my stream, my characters level really fast. So when I was doing the initial builds, I was hitting the cap like every hour and a half, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? And Riley, I don't know why she showed up, because what happened was I went to Long Night Lakowski's and I talked to her and she says, I'm confused. So that means, you know, she bugged out, she wouldn't go anywhere. So I couldn't recruit her. And I'm like, whatever, I don't give a crap. You know, I've got plenty of settlers, I don't really need her anymore. And then, like, I came back here and was building and decorating, and like 3 days later, she just shows up. I'm like, well, that was kind of creepy. She's stalking me across the Commonwealth. That's kind of, well, you know, you got to admire her industry, though. I mean, she did find me, and of course, I'm going to slam a door in my face. So, yeah, but these are the same hotel rooms, and they've got a little bit more decoration. The standard stuff you'd want in a hotel room: glasses and an ashtray and a vase. You could probably put flowers in, an alarm clock, you know, the basic stuff. The clothes seller's house with her nice little fixtures and some extra clothes and books. That's a little job reading. And of course, we will do a night tour here at the end. That's why this is so long, because I do this because I went slow for two reasons. One, I wanted to make sure y'all could see this stuff, and two, because my frame rate went in the toilet. It's like I don't want to crash by moving too fast, because at certain points I had to actually kind of go way slow. And here's our head guard, our original Diamond City guard, who is now living the life. He has control, he's in command, and he's got, you know, the luxurious house, and he's got the nice posting, watching the bar, and he's got all this stuff. His little cot, all his junk down here. And then we go up and we see his power armor. They all have the white power armor. I did use the Creation Club's white paint job instead of the winterized coating, because the winterized coating is kind of rough, like there's rough patches in it. I didn't really like that. I wanted a more smooth, look. But yeah, that's the whole settlement, guys. Built in the first 2/3, and it's a good thing I stopped here, because otherwise, man, I would have definitely had to been resetting this console a lot. But yeah, the water purifier, I think that's my favorite part of this. Next to the player house, that's my favorite construction, because that's the kind of scrappy look I'm going for every time. That kind of mixed materials, haphazard, bolted together, whatever the hell. So let's go up to our perch, and we will go over to nighttime. Now, of course, the night tour is going to be a lot faster, because I know you've seen this. We're just going to be looking at the lights. Let's go up here, and we'll do a quick fade. I didn't do too badly lining it up, so that was kind of good. So yeah, he's going through here. He's doing his last Charles/Nate/ test subject. Is doing his last run through. He's making sure everything is in order. He's like, okay, everything on my list is done. I'm going to double check and make sure nothing's faded out, make sure nothing's bugged out, make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. But this settler here likes to build radios, so he's working on that radio, trying to fix it. It doesn't work. He hasn't quite figured out why, but he's working on it. He's working on it in his spare time, and of course they like milk here. Don't know where they're getting the milk. I shudder to think they're milking that Brahmin. Blech. But I guess you need your calcium however you can get it, right? Because Mutfrin ain't got no calcium in it. Water purifiers mostly not lit to prevent people from attacking it. Because I mean, if you look at it at night, it's just a big dark blob sitting here in the middle of the water, so they might not go after it. But it's finicky too, so it's got its problems. Look at these two; they're just kind of hanging out. Look at them, yeah, they're just chilling. Up, and she's reading her soap operas or her diary, or oh, I don't know, that's a Scaver. Hey, Scaver, how you doing, man? Maybe he's just bored looking at the stuff. And then the power armor, the outdoor power armor station, with the rough and ready cobbled together work areas, a cart and some parts, and it's like the standard stuff. It's not. I don't have a lot of variety in these things anymore because I've made so many of them. And his little snack area is lit up good, so he can eat. And then over here, I've got that storage box for them to put their tribute in, and that turret goes off if anybody touches the keys but me. That's what it's programmed to do. So they put their caps in the slot in the top, and of course he took the nice things. He wanted to make himself a nice area, He wanted to get a nice sitting area and a nice working area with all the modern, cleanest, implementation with his, of course, the chalkboard's got the stats. And working on a weapon here. Looks kind of nice. Got some magazines for reading materials, some lockers for storage. The cleanest bathroom in the entire settlement right here. And his nice, clean, tidy little area. Got a nice pantry, and of course he saves all the pristine food for himself, all the fresh corn, fresh melons, fresh carrots. Gets all those from 81, gets them shipped over. The kitchen was a horrible pain to do because those pieces didn't want to fit in there, but I finally got him to wedge in there, so that looked pretty good. That's a nice little kitchen. Used to be his house, now it's a kitchen. So, yeah, this came out pretty good. I had to reconfigure the inside of it. Of course, it changed since the last time you saw it from the way it was laid out, because before it was just a bunch of furniture and raggedy rugs, but then he got the nice stuff out and did his thing. The doctor's office, nice and dim, same thing here, not a lot of light, just over the patient beds. A lot of light on her things so she can make a midnight snack, I suppose. I don't know. But this thing has the spotlighting, the focus lighting that I like so much. Just to highlight accent areas, leave everything else dark, so your eyes drawn to the thing I want to highlight. There's nothing in the top, by the way. There's nothing in the projection room. I just left it bare. I couldn't think of what else to do with it. So, because everybody else was living down low, so it didn't make sense to have anybody up top. They didn't have that. Since this is all built up and heavily defended, nobody felt the need to hide up there, since we're a pretty successful settlement. And again, this guy's room is the brightest one in the settlement. So here he is with his cameras, his toys, his liquor, his drugs, and his recorder, and he's super bright, so he can make sure he can see everything no matter. Yeah, I don't want to know what he's doing, man. It's just, okay. Sorry about that. It's like it's almost like I didn't do it myself, right? Yeah, that one was creepy. So here's her thing. She doesn't like a lot of light. She only has, focus light here and there for her activities and administrative work. Let me go down and out, and I run on the roof. Because of course I ran up on the wing again. I really like how the wing came out, though. I like the way the wing did its thing. And of course the scavenging area is dark at night because they only work during the day, so they don't need nothing down here. But this settlement was fun. This challenge was fun. I had a great deal of enjoyment with this. Hey, look at that. She's actually doing she's burning the midnight oil, breaking down some stuff off the clock. Look at you. Dedicated scaver. That's what I like. I like industry, and it makes me money. And where are we going here? Oh yeah, we're going into here. Going into the scaver and junk vendors. Yeah, look at that chug, man. And see, there's her friend just waiting for her to get off work. Gonna hang out and have some drinks, and get up to no good, I would imagine. But the settlers do path through here pretty good. They don't get stuck as much as they used to. Moving things diagonally, oddly enough, makes them happier. They can path better when stuff is at an angle. I don't know if that's just this settlement, or if that's just a quirk, or if that's actually how it works. I don't know. Not a lot of people hang out in the bar, though, which is strange. They wander around all the time, but they don't actually come in here very much, which is unfortunate, because I would have liked to have them all hanging out in the bar. But, here's the whole thing. Spotlighting, accent lighting. This looks kind of nice. The candles and those yellowish high-tech lights. That's a good combination in terms of having a compatible hue, I suppose. Because these white lights are really harsh. Oh my God, that's really chuggy. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. But thankfully, Charles is, Nate is, he's done with this place. He is done with this place. We are all done. It is complete. And are we going to go up the thing? Am I going to remember? We'll check him out, and we'll go check out the hotel room. So I hope you all like this. I hope this is gives you some ideas. I hope this is interesting, and I definitely learned some new techniques with this thing, and some new ways to do things. Having it evolve was an interesting challenge. I wish I would have, in hindsight, I wish I would have thought more about it before I started building, rather than I wish I would have RP'd it more heavily from the start. I guess that's the thing. But you know, when I originally built it, I had the flu, so I built like most of it in the first 5 days. So okay, we're done here. And when Charles got done decorating his house, he heard a noise from behind the screen. A very loud buzzing noise, pretty similar to that one with the doors. So after he got done here at night, he steeled himself up, got himself a glass of scotch, and took a peek behind the screen and found this. Here is his ticket. Exit zone, and there's his television. So now it's time for Nate to go home. He's finally going to go home. I don't know if he's actually going to work for them anymore, though. I doubt it. He's probably just going to run. But anyway, we're going to go to here. And I want to thank you all very much for liking, subscribing, and watching. And I will see you in the next one. But Charles won't. Take care.